Hey brother, I have a few predictions what alien Earth could turn into. Let's break down the overall plot, its potential connections to David, the corporations, hybrids, androids, and the major risk this series might fall into. First of all, unfortunately, Alien Earth is very likely to be a zero-sum game. It is a prequel to the original Alien, and according to that canon, Earth had never encountered the xenomorphs before, though Weyland-Yutani was already aware of them and actively trying to capture one, which means the events of Alien Earth probably serve as the moment when Weyland-Yutani first learns about the xenomorphs, and that in turn is what leads to the Nostromo mission. So most likely all 5 new life forms introduced in the show will be wiped out by the end. Maybe a few people get infected along the way, maybe a few xenomorphs are born, but either way they will all be destroyed. But for sure we're gonna have cliffhanger ending. Maybe Weyland-Yutani manages to secretly capture one and stash it in a lab, but the ship crash, the aliens, everything will get destroyed and classified. So by design, this show has a very little room to move Xenomorph storyline further. On the other hand, the universe is big. There's a 57 years gap between Alien and Aliens, where Weyland-Yutani already knows about the Xenomorphs and could be pulling all kind of shady experiments across the galaxy. So there is a chance the show can actually evolve into something more. Now about David. Of course, everyone is just terrified of even mentioning Covenant, Prometheus, David, the engineers or the black goo, just to avoid pissing off the fans. So realistically, that whole storyline won't be even touched in this show. But if Prometheus and Covenant are still canon, then logically David has to be connected to the origin of this ship, especially with 5 different organisms on board. We know how much David loved to experiment with biology. On the flip side, if David were directly involved, he would have made sure that this ship was the last thing humanity ever saw. So most likely, he is the cause of these creatures being born, but not the one who launched the ship to Earth. Maybe he is already dead by this point and Weyland-Yutani expedition quietly collected his creations and loaded them onto that ship. Now about the corporations. Alien Earth will feature Earth itself and 5 separate mega corporations before the Weyland-Yutani monopoly is established. One of the core unchanging themes of Alien franchise is that corporations are evil and amoral. They're obsessed with immortality, they sacrifice human lives to gain access to new technologies, they turn people into slaves basically, and we'll almost certainly see the same theme reflected in this show. Most likely there will be a corporate arms race to capture the xenomorph, to gain a technological edge, to weaponize it or to use it for human augmentation. You know, like our favorite Alien Part 4. At the same time, we'll probably get side plots showing these corporations competing for power outside of Xenomorph economically and politically, all building towards the inevitable formation of the Weyland-Yutani monopoly. And let's be honest bro, this is fucking TV show. They're not going to fill every episode with Xenomorph horror, that would be way too expensive. So of course we are going to get plenty of drugged out scenes of people in suits, sitting in boardrooms, performing very intense, engaging, smart political conversations for 10 minutes straight. Also, the role of the corporations and their god-complex CEO chasing immortality will likely be explored through the hybrid program, and most likely the entire hybrid arc will revolve around mind transfer tech, rich elites desiring to upload their consciousness into cybernetic bodies to cheat death. And that's gonna be the central moral conflict of the show. This transfer technology will probably be tested on terminally ill children, grown on a remote island like some twisted Neverland, and these hybrids will be sent off on a mission to hunt aliens. The show will likely focus on 2 primary corporations, Weyland-Yutani with their classic synthetics and their desire to exploit the xenomorphs, and Prodigy, specializing in mind transfer technology, human hybrids, and just the ship collapses on their territory. The other 3 corporations will probably exist just to serve the power struggle between Weyland and Prodigy, and most likely Weyland will come out ahead, not because of the tech, but because they win the political game and make alliance with those 3 corporations. So what about the androids and synthetics? By the time of Alien Earth, we already have David and Walter, the classic synthetics. David obviously was the first and he was too free. He was way too free. So Weyland-Yutani went back and redesigned him and created the much more obedient Walter. But we also have Ash from Alien, who appears just 2 years after Alien Earth. Ash is already capable of direct violence against human, deception and sabotage. Then we've got Andy and Rook from Romulus, androids who are willing to sacrifice couple human to save a greater number, or to fulfill the company's mission. And finally there's Bishop from Aliens, who comes from a much later era, and he's been reprogrammed so he can't harm humans. So at the time of Alien Earth, even though we already have someone like loyal, rule-bound Walter, it is still totally plausible to see synthetics more in line with Ash morality, the kind that can harm humans if the mission requires it. And I guess we even need this questionable synthetic line, so Weyland should start moving towards more obedient synthetics like Bishop. Now, the series will introduce a new concept: hybrids, robots infused with human consciousness, specifically from children. They are built by a corporation called Prodigy, and this tech seems to be a brand new, still in secret, still experimental, apparently developed on a hidden island referred to as Neverland. And it's probably meant to stand in contrast to Weyland classic AI synthetics. Most likely these hybrids will carry the greatest philosophical and moral weight of the entire show. Children permanently trapped in robotic bodies, the minds of terminally ill kids exploited by a greedy corporation, children's mind facing the horror of xenomorphs and deaths. And apparently some questions will be raised. Does humanity even deserve to survive if this is how it treats its own? Is it moral to merge human and AI? And we clearly meant to feel massive sympathy for these hybrids. And because these hybrids were never mentioned anywhere else in the canon, they probably must be born and destroyed within the series. And they will be wiped out, or they will flee and will be hiding and haunted. Maybe the hybrids will even turn against their own creators. And beyond corporations, hybrids and synthetics, there's another faction in play, the soldiers. Presumably, these are the early predecessors of the colonial marines from Aliens. These soldiers will probably provide the human perspective. They might serve as a bridge between the audience and the ethical mess of corporations, bioweapons and children trapped in robot bodies. And at this point it starts to sound dangerous. We'll need to deeply explore the hybrids and all their childlike robotic suffering. We'll need to develop the corporations, their schemes, politics and evil master plans. Very likely we're gonna have synthetics, and now we also have soldiers. And we need to show all our Aliens action horror stuff, of course. So there's a great risk that show will try to juggle with all of this and will collapse under its own weight. And before starting to talk about the risks, bro, subscribe to this fucking channel, because I've already shoot the videos about Prometheus, Covenant, Romulus characters comparing analysis, secret level Warhammer cinematography breakdown, why Under Season 2 is a disaster, why Syla series sucks, why character development in Shogun is a masterpiece, Blade Runner philosophy, Sauron love story with Galadriel, and why intro of Foundation series is absolutely awful. Subscribe, bro, I love you. Risk number 1. The show is canonically constrained and predetermined. We know Earth is never actually in danger. At best, maybe they nuke this Prodigy-infected city and cover it up. But if the show starts leaning too hard on the is Earth at risk suspense, it is going to feel weak. Like, yes, the series of course needs this drama, tension and all the suspense around aliens, but if it wants any long-term potential, and it wants, they already plan to make season 2, the corporate scheming storyline has to be just as strong as the horror. Which naturally brings us to risk number 2, the franchise potential. As I said, they are already planning sustained for 2 seasons, and we all know what it means. The classic TV show's trap with endless cliffhangers, artificial slow burns, dragging one storyline for 8 hours that could be told in 2, and this world is very likely to bloat. Just imagine. One corporation captures the aliens, some scientist gets infected, half of them die and gives birth to 50 new aliens. Meanwhile, the hybrids form their own AI child resistance, another group goes off to find David, and meanwhile corporate bullshit dialogues in offices stretches on forever. So I'm very afraid of this plot inflation and dragging out nonsense. Risk number 3, the moral philosophy overload. We've got evil corporate suits, abuse terminally ill children inside robot bodies, human soldiers with them, classic synthetics with questionable directives, and it all could easily spiral into endless questions and moralization without strong philosophy under all of that. And the worst risk of all, because I hate TV shows as a genre, too much useless dialogues. Like again, we have corporations, hybrid kids, human soldiers, maybe couple synthetics, and all that is supposed to be counterbalanced by just couple xenomorphs and one ship. And also, we just don't have enough money, even with a report budget of over $250 million. For context, Romulus had $80 million and still looked very cheap when it came to showing xenomorphs. And here we have $250 per 8 hours. So obviously don't even expect full CGI creatures, expect hiding everything in shadows and people who endlessly walk in dark corridors with tense faces. And by the way, from the early production stills, from the shots of ship corridors and characters, this already looks and feels a lot like Romulus, which isn't a bad thing. Romulus looks great visually and Romulus won box office. So I guess you should check out my video on the Romulus art direction, bro. I want to believe in alien Earth, I really do, but honestly, I can't. TV shows as a format is such a disaster, bro. And now add to the fact it is based on a burned out, overused IP like Alien, meant to be an action horror experience taking place on the one ship, but stretched into 8 hours, with kids as the main characters and evil corporation politics. To be honest, all I want from this show is just to be watchable. I don't want it to be even masterpiece, please just don't suck. Don't suck, bro. And by the way, this show is pretty expensive. So yeah, they are going full on streaming model, 1 episode a week, which is very painful. So thanks for watching, bro. Subscribe to this channel because I will be analyze Alien Earth no matter is it masterpiece or disaster. Join the Discord and Telegram channel, subscribe to this channel because bro, I left my job, I have no opportunities in life but to become a YouTuber. Please support me, bro, please support me, bro. Only if you like this content. If you don't like this content, get the fuck out of here, bro. Okay, bye bye, bro.